Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Everybody. Everybody's got one. Opinionated. Okay, you got me on? I'm probably on. So, this is the Grande Gordo Papa, and this is the GGPLS Lifestyle Podcast. What am I doing? I'm showing how unprofessional I am. I'm reaching for my card. Why? Because I don't remember what this podcast is. This is the podcast for free thinkers, for self-improvement devotees, business people, hip-hop heads and general music enthusiasts and lovers, martial arts enthusiasts, and generally cool motherfuckers. So what am I doing here today? Well, I'm trying out some new shit, frankly. I'm trying out the idea of doing a bit of a video while I podcast. I think it'd be pretty cool. I'm having so much fun doing these podcasts that I thought, hey, let me just give this a try. So here I am trying out doing a video with the podcast that I can use to upload the video to, social media and YouTube and whatever. And the podcast at the same time. If you listen to the podcast, I'll probably cut all that shit out. Anyway, so this is the synoptic. That is a word, just the wrong one. So this is going to be a real quick synopsis of, and here's the great thing. Do I even know the name of the book? I've been listening to a book on Audible. And here's the thing. I don't have my phone in front of me because my wife has it. So I don't know what the hell the book was or the title. But Grande Gordo Papa is the broad stroke guy, so I'll tell you that basically the book is roughly called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it's written by a guy called Mark something, but when I think of Mark, and I think his surname begins with an R, I just get Mark Ronson, and I know that ain't him. So I'll get you that proper information in the show notes. But, I'm going to do a proper podcast on this, but I'm just trying something out. And here is the 5-minute version of, what I think is going on in that book. Basically, yeah, that's my review. By the way, this is OpinionHated. This is the very first OpinionHated, so I should be really excited. Because, OpinionHated is one of the programs in the Grande Gordo Papa Lifestyle channel. And I've never done one before. I've got loads of ideas, but I'm so busy. So I just don't get around to doing this. So this is one of the programs. So this is like my very first OpinionHated, which is kind of cool because I'm recording it. So that's really exciting and sexy. So yeah, about that book, my general feeling about the book is, yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because it starts off with an amazing title and premise. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Just that title alone. Now it's kind of funny because I did read a couple of reviews of the book after I finished listening to the audio version of it. And there were people in these reviews saying, oh, lots of profanity, unnecessarily vulgar profanity. I'm like, you picked up a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Like, duh, are you stupid? Why the hell would you pick up a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck and then get offended by its level of profanity? That's just dumb. So, no fucks given for any of those idiots. But, it's got a great title. Never say never judge a book by its cover. I often find it's not true. You can fuck sure hell yeah judge a book by its cover. So I love the title and I got really excited by it. And the first 2 or 3 chapters really did the job. In fact, the first chapter to me was the book. And that's the problem with a lot of books. The first chapter was the book. He hit it on the head. He nails it. Talking about the fact that the society we live in, the social media world we live in, the first world problems it gives us is that we're constantly bombarded with success stories and other people's lifestyles and how exciting and wonderful their lives are, particularly when in all honesty we know they aren't. And it creates this incredible social pressure to match up. Keeping up with the Joneses has never been as hard. You're not worried about your next door neighbor, the guy across the street now. You're worried about the person on the other side of the world. And you're constantly being given examples of the people at the very top of their game, the people who are absolutely crushing it. People who are making crazy success and comparing yourself to those people. That isn't realistic, and it's very bad for our mental health. Wonderful premise for the book, and I absolutely love it. But then the problem is, then the book goes on. Oh, by the way, the other thing I love about the book, when I talk about Opinion Hated, is I love the examples. He starts off a lot of the chapters with examples, which are just awesome and hilarious. So the first half of the book, I loved. It starts off with a great premise. It digs into that premise quite well. And the examples are hilarious. It's the kind of thing that I would love to do. With putting up the best examples, the most funny examples, and presenting them and then making a point out of them. It's actually one of the reasons I do this podcast. So I actually love that shit. And the only thing I didn't like about the first half of the book is basically it's there to diss self-improvement gurus and self-improvement junkies. And it really reminded me very much of Requiem for a Dream, which someone gave me to watch many years ago. And I remembered, Juiced by a Taffy, Juiced by a Taffy, Juiced by a Taffy. And just knowing that they were dissing Anthony Robbins. Now, I'm not really a guru guy. I'm not into gurus, but I am a very loyal guy. And I always give credit to people who changed my life. And when my friend, who had met on a train, because we were going to the same location from Blackfriars to Luton every single day, Olu Benson, big shout out to Olu Benson, I think I just did, saw me reading a book called The Magic of Big Thinking by George Schultz and said, oh, you're into that self-improvement type stuff? I got some stuff that you might be interested in. And turned up the next day with like 24 CDs. That's a good human being. So anyway, he got me into Anthony Robbins. I listened to the CDs, mind-blowing, changed my life. Within 6 months, I'd left the employment I was in and I was contracting. And within 2 years, I'd left the UK. No, I set up a property company. My bad. I'd gone from IT contracting to running my own property investment business. And let's say within under 10 years, 7, 8 years, I had a successful property business, left that and moved to Spain. And all of this really, I personally attribute to Olu Benson. Give me the CDs, and the CDs by Anthony Robbins, The Personal Power 2. So when you start dissing self-improvement to me, I'm just like, I ain't trying to be deaf because we want to be open-minded, and I accept the criticisms. And my boy No Name was telling me the same thing a while ago about he's reading another book, and I was talking about how toxic the self-improvement thing is and how it generates a lot of negativity. It tries so hard to generate positivity, generates negativity, and I accept all of those criticisms. And that's one of the things that this book goes into. He points out, that the constant awareness of lack that is created when you're constantly trying to look for improvement in yourself. By saying I need improvement in one way or another way, you're really highlighting the lack, and that highlighting the lack can actually be toxic and negative in itself. I kind of get that. But the problem I have with the book is that as he got more into the middle of the book and started to really highlight, his major bugbear, which is entitlement and different kinds of entitlement, and how, first world problems, we have this entitlement. I was really starting to wonder who this book was for, because although some of the starting out chapter examples are still hilarious and engaging, the people he was talking about, the problems he was talking about, I didn't resonate with. I was like, who are these people? And I thought to myself, maybe I'm at them. Maybe it's that thing that I'm just under, just shy of my 50s. And maybe I've lived enough life to not have those kind of problems anymore. Maybe this is a brilliant book for an 18-year-old who is, hyped up on social media and IG, looking at, all these guys flossing their Rolex watches and their $200,000 cars and whatever it is, and feeling insecure. And having those kind of issues. But the problems that he was saying that, were being flagged up or being created, I didn't resonate with them. The problems he was saying were being created by social media, I didn't resonate with that. Or particularly enough, so not so much social media. The problems that he was saying was being created by self-improvement and the kind of entitledness that, positive thinking creates. I didn't resonate with it because I was like, look, long story short, if I see an example of a guy who climbs to the top of a mountain, I don't see an example of someone telling me that if I don't get to the top of the mountain, I'm shit. I just don't. Maybe it's my Caribbean upbringing. We have a lot of jokes about, the Caribbeans being very relaxed, laid back. So maybe other people see that guy get to the top of the mountain and go, damn, I got to get to that place, or even higher. I want to double where he got to, because that's the only way I can feel good about myself. But I don't think that. I think, wow, dude, that guy got to the top of the mountain. You can at least get a third of the way up. Because let's say the aim of going to the top of the mountain was to get the view. So maybe he got to the top of the mountain and got the most beautiful view. But I'm like, wow, he's an inspiration to me because he got up there and did it with whatever tools and resources he had. So why don't I go up there and go as far as I can with whatever tools and resources I have? And if I only get a third of the way up, dude, I've still got a much better view than the one I got right now. I've still journeyed and improved myself and grown and developed new skills. So what have I lost? You know, I don't get the logic. The only way I can think that I failed in that scenario is if I didn't leave base camp. If I stayed on the base camp and thought, damn, that guy got to the top of the mountain, but I don't want to try and get to the top of the mountain because if I only got 2/3 of the way up or a third of the way up or, you know, 1/5 of the way up or whatever, I'm going to feel bad about myself. That's dumb because I'm only going to feel bad about myself if I didn't move from where I am. That's the only way I can feel bad about myself. Maybe it's my own personal psychology, but that's why that stuff didn't resonate with me. So talking about, you know, the subtle art of not giving a fuck. I only listened to the audio book. I didn't read the full book. I might have missed a lot of the best content and the nuances. A bit like when you watch a film and not read the book and you know that the film ain't the book. So, you know, I'm just saying, this is just my opinion hated on that. I love the first half of it. It was great. I love the examples he gives. He's a very clever guy, very clever writer, very entertaining writer. So I enjoyed all of that. But as I said, as he got into his real point, the real meat and veg of, you know, entitlement and how toxic self-improvement material is and self-improvement ideas are, he just lost me. I just didn't get the examples because the things that he was saying self-improvement created, I just didn't see. I got the whole social media toxicity, and I got the whole idea of, you know, how social media, how self-improvement could be toxic. But the examples he was giving, I was just like, oh, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe this is for other people who are starting this journey. Because where I am in this journey, not only have I personally had successes from the use of self-improvement material and ideas and concepts, but, you know, I don't see life in those terms. I don't see life in terms of I have to be the guy who I'm learning from, or I have to be the guy who sets the example, or I have to be the guy at the top of the tree. I don't see life in those terms. I see how wonderfully embellished my life could be just by having good examples around me and just trying to aim at being 1/3 of where they are and being happy about that and happy about my growth and development. And then there's a chapter in it, which again, I really like. And the chapter is, again, I'm paraphrasing because, you know me, this is the GGP. There are no research. There's no research. There's no notes. And even if I was going to try today, I'm short on time and I've got no internet, long story. So, yeah, so, you know, there's a chapter in it which is talking about you're not so special or you're not special. And again, talking about the whole concept of, you know, self-improvement and everyone that they're individual and they're unique and they're special and, you know, how they're meant to, you know, achieve this amazing stuff because everyone's unique and special. And he's like, you know, yo, that's bullshit. Don't buy into it. You're not so special. Actually, most of us are pretty fucking average, and, you know, trying to be special, wanting to be special, demanding to be special, expecting to be special is quite toxic. Again, a premise I understand. I just didn't know who he was talking to. I was like, dude, you know I'm unique from the perspective of there is nobody else exactly like me. But I think most of us are quite comfortable in our averageness. You know, I know people that go and play football every single weekend in non-league clubs or have a kick around with their friends. And some of them were quite talented, and some of them were maybe got into some of the major league, you know, Premier League teams, schoolboy teams, and whatever, and they just didn't make it. It doesn't. I don't think it froze them. I don't think there's a lot of those guys who live their whole life bitter because they didn't make it to professional football. I think a lot of them said, that would have been great, but it didn't happen, and now I'm doing this, and I still kick around on the weekend, and I'm having fun, and I'm good. You know, a handful of people, sure, but there's a handful of people who do everything. You know what I mean? That's like saying that you're not going to serve dinner because a handful of people will be bulimic and another handful of people will be obese. You know, you just got to go with the average. And the average person, really, no matter how much shit we dump on them and toxicity, at the end of the day, has enough common sense to understand that, you know what? Yes, I know I'm not that special. I'm just trying to be the best version of me. And that's how I always saw the self-improvement stuff, was that, you know, what I'm trying to do is just be the best version of me. That's what it helps me to do, not to compare to other people and be miserable if I can't be as good as them or outdo them. Just use their example as a positive example of what can be achieved and just be the best version of me. So I really wasn't with that, you're not special. I mean, so I was with that, but again, I just didn't see the real idea of the premise. And then, to be honest with you, what really disappointed me, and I jumped to the end because things to do. What really disappointed me was then at the end of the book. So I'll divide the book into thirds. The first third was very, very funny, very, very humorous, and set out a brilliant premise, and I was kind of on board with most of it. The middle of the book kind of really dug into why he thinks positive thinking, self-improvement, and all that type of stuff is so toxic and bad, and deconstructing it, in terms of, entitlement and, thinking that you're special and knowing that you learn that you're not special. And he really went into it, and I listened to all of it. I don't remember all of it. I ain't got that kind of memory, but that's what the second half of the book is about. Second third of the book, sorry. And the last third is kind of presenting his, views on what's a better scenario, which is a brilliant thing to do. That's great. I was saying, if you can take something away from somebody, replace it with something. But what I found more than anything about the last third of the book was the hypocrisy, because he spent the whole of this time deconstructing self-improvement and self-improvement concepts, and then he gave his own self-improvement concepts, which is a criticism itself, talking very much about, the change of your values. And what I find so interesting about that is, as a big Anthony Robbins fan, not so much the Personal Power 2, but to Get the Edge has a whole CD. Both Personal Power 2 and Get the Edge has a lot of information about the importance of your values. I mean, he breaks down your values to the nth degree, where they come from, if you have values and beliefs that aren't serving you, the actual lineage, how it works from your beliefs to your values and how that affects your life and your performance and your achievements. He breaks this down completely, and then this guy comes along and says, yeah, self-improvement's kind of all bollocks, it's toxic, and what you really need to do is work on your values, which is something that's covered completely in most self-improvement, most good, I'm not talking about good, obviously there's this shit everywhere, but most good self-improvement type programs. So I thought that in itself was a kind of hypocrisy. That he's dissing something that he goes right back and emulates. And then on top of that, at the very end, after going through his own values, and there's lots more I could have done. If I was going to do this really properly, I would have reread the book. No, not because I dislike the book, because I like the book. I just ain't got another 5 hours to give to the same shit, to be honest with you. So that's why I ain't reread the book. But, if I was really going to do this properly, I'd have reread the book, and I could have gone through this chapter by chapter or concept by concept. But I'm just giving you an opinion hated. It's just an overall view. And the second thing about it, right at the end, the very last chapter, he basically goes into the fact of why you are special and why you are unique and why you are so important, in complete and utter contrast. Now, I'm sure as a very clever writer, and he proven very much as a very clever writer, I'm sure that was kind of purposeful and meant to be kind of really deep and revealing in one way or another, to take something away from you, take away your entitled view of how special you are, and then give it back to you after giving you the correct values and beliefs to really frame it properly. But it didn't come across that way. It just came across as really hypocritical. Just came across as really shallow and hypocritical, to have literally spent a whole chapter telling me that I wasn't special, and then spend the very last chapter telling me just how special I am. It's just like, dude, really? So like I said, very possibly out of my age range. Maybe I've lived enough, to not be affected by some of the issues. So I sound like, the end of something they say after those soul prophets. If you've been affected by any of the issues, but maybe I've lived long enough to not be affected by some of the issues in this book, or to have resolved these problems myself. I don't particularly remember being young and wanting to be the top of every single tree. When I was young, social media didn't exist, so maybe I wasn't so much under the pressure of being at the top of every single tree. But I think it's just that kind of personality. Some people are driven to being the top of everything. Some people want to collect all the toys. And right back to the whole, whether you use this guy's book, the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, or an Anthony Robbins program, or a Jim Rohn program, you'll soon discover that your values and your beliefs are the reason why you're driven in that way. At the end of the day, so I just found it super hypocritical and contradictory that this guy spent the first 2/3 of the book dissing self-improvement to effectively write a self-improvement book, which in all honesty didn't particularly add anything greatly that I hadn't already discovered from some of the people that I think he was targeting. So there you go. Mark, I will put in the show notes. Damn, I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. Wife's got my phone basically, so I can't look it up right now. But very entertaining book. Good read, just not for me. So unfortunately, your book has been opinion hated. And I'm out.
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.